Hello again, and welcome back to another Eduonics tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to discuss how to open photos in Adobe Photoshop and create new documents from scratch. To start off, I'm going to close Photoshop and show you how to open Photoshop without even having to click on its desktop shortcut. I'll go to the top of the screen and click the Close button. Now that Photoshop is closed, you may see that I have a couple different icons on my desktop. These are royalty-free images that I've downloaded online. You can use whatever photos you already have on your computer, or you can simply Google royalty-free photos to get access to a sea of beautiful images ready for you to play with. I would like to open this photo in Photoshop. So all I'm going to do is right-click it and hover over to Open With. Then I'll go down and click Adobe Photoshop CC 2014. And now we just wait for Photoshop to load. Photoshop can have slow or fast load times, depending on the speed and capacity of your computer. If you're experiencing some slow performance, try quitting some applications you don't need to be running. This will allow Photoshop to use more of your computer's memory and will improve performance overall. Okay, here's my photo loaded into Photoshop. Now we have a much closer look at the photo. It's of a woman and a little girl laying on the floor with a laptop. What could they be so happy about? You know what? I bet they're learning how to use Photoshop. You may also notice that there's a new tab on the top left of my workspace with the title of my photo. And there's also been a change in the Layers panel to the right. There's now a layer called Background that has a tiny thumbnail of my photo. Now I'd like to open a different photo without ever leaving Photoshop. I'm just going to go up to the menu bar and click on File. Then hover directly down to Open and click. Then, in the navigation window, we're already seeing the files that are on my desktop. And I want to open up the cityscape image. So I'm going to select that and then go down and click on Open. Now we see my image of an illustrated cityscape. This is just a bunch of buildings on a curved plane in the nighttime. You may also notice that we still have the tab for the previous photo on our workspace. So all we would have to do is click that tab to switch to that photo within Photoshop. Now we have no problem switching back and forth between images, and we can edit them simultaneously in Photoshop. Finally, let's create a new document from scratch. Go back up to the menu bar and click File again. Only this time, we're going to click on New. This brings up the new document window, and we are met with plenty of options before we can proceed. Let's do a rundown of all the buttons here so we have a better idea of what we're dealing with. The first option that we have is Name. This is pretty self-explanatory. It's just the name for our new document, much like the names for our previous images. Next is Preset. Now this operates much like the workspace presets, in that these presets are here to give you some standard options to choose from while you begin working with Photoshop. The preset affects all these options in the space below. So let's check these out. Width and height. These are very straightforward. They're just the numbered units of width and height defined by these boxes to the right. Right now, it's set up to 7 by 5 inches. Let's change our measurement to something else by clicking on Inches. And then we'll go up to Pixels. You can see that the numbers have scaled proportionately to the measurement that we've selected on the right. So 5 by 7 inches is proportionately equal to 504 by 360 pixels. We can change these numbers to any dimensions that we like. Generally, pixels are used for digital on-screen graphics. and inches are used for printed graphics. But both can be converted to the other, and neither terms are entirely exclusive to digital or printed graphics. Below width and height is a resolution option. This affects the amount of pixels that are displayed per inch of space, so the higher the number goes, the more detail the image will need. The numbers tend to vary from different systems, but 72 is usually the standard for on-screen graphics, and 300 is usually used for printing. It can be easy to think that a higher resolution will result in a better image, but this isn't always the case. My suggestion is to leave the numbers alone unless you know for sure that you need a certain resolution before proceeding. You may also notice that the image size, that is, the amount of hard drive space that the image takes in your computer, is drastically affected by the image's resolution. So to save space and performance, you may want to keep things from getting a little too big. Next up is the color mode. Now this is the option that will constrain the image to certain ranges and types of color. You can generally stick to RGB for digital graphics and CMYK for printed graphics. There are also other options to choose from, but we will cover those in a later video. This button here on the right that says 8-bit refers to the limitation of unique colors in the image. Much like resolution, a higher number will yield a higher quality image. At the moment though, 8-bit images are very popular and perform very well with perfectly adequate quality. Our next option is the background contents. Whenever you create a new document in Photoshop, there needs to be at least one layer in it. This option allows you to decide what you want that layer to look like. You can choose a solid color, like white or black, or you can pick a custom color that you can define in the color picker. You also have the option for your layer to be transparent. This will allow you to have your image blend against another background separate from Photoshop. Now there's some advanced options: the color profile and the pixel aspect ratio. I try not to mess with these unless I absolutely have to, because changing these settings may make your image clash with another program or image you happen to be working with. For now, we're going to leave these alone and stick with our default options. Right now, our document preset is set to the default Photoshop size. Let's see what happens to the options below when we change it. Go back up to the preset and click Default Photoshop Size to reveal more options. If you hover down to US Paper and click, you can see that all of our size options have been altered and our resolution has been increased to 300. Now let's go back up and click our preset button, and this time we'll go to Web. Then click. Again, our sizes have changed and our resolution is back to 72. Just like the workspaces, we can switch to and from these presets when working with new documents. They are very helpful as sorts of templates for the standard sizes and colors of multiple types of images. Okay, those are all the options that you're going to face when creating a new document in Photoshop. We will discuss Photoshop layers in the next video.